Oh my God, I'll tell you about the hot dog demon.
This is We Bleed Orange and Black, the podcast for Halloween and horror lovers. My name's Jeff, and this week we are talking with Chelsea Pumpkins and Chris O'Halloran for the new book, That's What I Call Horror, an anthology of 90s horror coming out this January. With 14 horror stories set during the decade of flannel shirts and neon dolphin trapper keepers, That's What I Call Horror features a fat, pretty horrific and terrifying, collection of totally rad and weird fiction authors exploring the darker side of what many consider a time of relative peace and prosperity. With communism falling and Clear Channel rising, the horror of the 1990s requires peeling back layers of safe, sanitized media to reveal the nightmares waiting beneath. When it comes to 90s horror, this anthology is all that and a bag of haunted chips. Good afternoon, Chelsea.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So you edited this tome of terrors. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
I'm Chelsea Pumpkins. I live in Massachusetts in the US, which I feel like I have to clarify since Chris is from Canada.
We're all North Americans here.
All North Americans. I started writing horror not too long ago, maybe like a year and a half ago. Been a horror fan forever. Was a 90s kid. I just kind of started dabbling in writing short fiction, weird, scary stuff.
Awesome. Chris, can you introduce us to your background a little bit?
Hey, Jeff. My name is Christopher O'Halloran. I am a horror author from Canada, from BC. I should specify because every Canadian I meet online is from Toronto or Ontario. I've been writing horror for about 5 or 6 years now, more seriously for the last 2. I've got 3 novels under my belt that I'm currently seeking representation for, and I'm happy to have my story in this anthology.
What got you guys into writing horror? And Chelsea, I guess, follow-up question, what got you into editing horror?
I met Chris in a Discord server, Howl Society.
The Horror Obsessed Writing and Literature Society, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, so during, I think it was 2020 or maybe really early 2021, when things were still pretty shut down around here and kind of cooped up at home, somebody recommended I join that Discord because I really like horror as a fan. And a lot of that server is a book club. So we read some sort of horror adjacent thing every week, and then we talk about it online. I think through that, I started reading more short fiction, especially in the genre. And there is a side of the Discord that is focused on writing. And so after I had started dabbling and reading more short stories and then also reading more stuff that my new Discord friends were writing, I was like, I think I can try this. So yeah, I decided just to kind of take a stab, found a call that I thought sounded interesting, and I was like, okay, I'll just use this as a prompt and start there. And now I have probably a dozen stories under my belt, which isn't a ton, but I have a time day job. It's really nice to be able to find the time, and it's been a really cool outlet.
Well, the fact that you took a stab at it means you are a born horror writer.
Exactly. In terms of editing, a bunch of us writer friends decided to, hey, let's just work together and put together an anthology. We landed on the 90s theme, and we all just sort of started drafting and beta reading for each other. So it really started out as this collective project. And then we kind of just got to a point where it wasn't really feasible to have 14, 15 people weighing in on everything. And so I was honored to be, I guess, nominated or voluntold by the group to kind of take over the editor's seat. And it's been a lot of fun.
Chelsea's a born leader.
Did you say voluntold?
Voluntold, yeah.
That is magnificent. So this is an anthology of 90s horror. My question to both of you is, how do you define 90s horror?
That is a good question, and one that I'm probably not great at answering. I was born at the tail end of 92. A lot of the references that a lot of other 90s kids make kind of go over my head, or I get them on a conscious level, but not a deep nostalgic level. But I think compared to the 80s nostalgia that we've been seeing, there's a lot more maybe cynicism to the 90s nostalgia. The influence of grunge and everything. It's been a lot less poppy maybe than the 80s nostalgia. The windbreakers are still there, but the neon is starting to fade.
The neon is flickering and we're getting into that Seattle grunge core of nostalgia. Interesting.
Yeah.
Chelsea, how about you?
I just think the nostalgia of the 90s is really fun. We have like Tamagotchis and Lisa Frank and Goosebumps, and I don't know, you're seeing like a little bit of a resurgence of that nostalgia pop up in pop culture these days, like Yellow Jackets and the new Midnight Club on Netflix and Fear Street and that sort of stuff. How can we have fun with some of this nostalgia, but also expose some of the horror of it too? There were some pretty messed up times in the 90s. Like, let's tap into that. And
I think that's really clever. You know, we have been almost drowning in 80s nostalgia, which perhaps is an antidote to some of the grimness of the 2020s and COVID. Let's just try to forget our current situation. The 80s was a wonderful time for escapism, and the 90s were in response cynical, as you say, Chris. So what are your favorite properties from the 90s? You know, what are your horror touchstones when you think about that decade?
I was thinking like, Are You Afraid of the Dark and stuff.
Yes.
That show when I was little, it's like, I was the perfect age where I'm like, ooh, this looks really cool. I want to watch it. But you'd still get scared. And you're like, it's like touching like a hot stove or something.
There was an animated Tales from the Crypt Keeper. It wasn't Tales from the Crypt. It was Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
And it was animated. I remember it scared the hell out of me. Like it was a cartoon, but it was like terrifying. They had classic tales of like the guy leaving the hook on the car door, or like finding like an intruder in the back seat. It's like this is dark for a cartoon.
Like I think a lot of the cartoons that we grew up with had like a dark side to them too. Like thinking of like Ren and Stimpy and like
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yes, I love that show. And like Rocko's Modern Life. Like there was like some weird stuff. I think too, like it's not horror as a media, but I totally grew up in the time of like slumber parties every weekend, and like the whole like urban legend sleepover story was like huge when I was growing up, which is kind of what my story is about.
I feel like the whole Bloody Mary thing really came to light in the 90s too. I remember Bloody Mary being a huge thing.
Bloody Mary is an old thing. However, I will grant you that in the time of AOL Instant Messenger and chat rooms, the best vector for these sort of urban legends and folktales was through chat rooms. You know, you get your early creepypastas because you're not just on your own playground.
Or you got the chainmail going around where if you don't send it to 12 people, then you're going to have your head ripped off in the middle of the night.
Right. A spiritual successor to a Bloody Mary type story.
Yeah.
Trading on that, Chelsea, can you tell us a bit about your story? Who in the world is the Hat Man?
Who in the world is the Hat Man? Yeah, so like I was just talking about, like kind of leaned into like a sleepover, spooky, scary story type of urban legend feel. I'm a person who I have like all kinds of sleep issues, like insomnia, once in a while sleep paralysis, whatever. But I'm doing fine. I'm here. I love like the idea of sleep paralysis is really creepy to me. So I wanted to kind of explore that. And there is a real life phenomenon where people with sleep paralysis kind of see the same figure. And a lot of people say he wears a hat. So I was like, all right, what can I do with this? You know, if copywriting wasn't a thing, you might have seen the name Carmen Sandiego in the story itself. But...
Okay, good. Because my brain went straight to Carmen Sandiego, and that was my next question. So well done. Well played.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so in the story, we have a young character. It's told in a second person perspective, which can be controversial for readers, but it's a person who experiences this Hat Man phenomenon, and they're young and they try to find a way to cure themselves. And so they get in contact with a medium and get to the bottom of it.
My follow-up question was going to be, why did you choose the second person narration?
I don't know. I think I just wanted to try it. And I think I like second person narration, and I think it can be really scary story if used correctly. So I don't know, the idea of like describing you being stuck in your bed and seeing these figures in your room, I was just like, let's see if it works. And I think it does. So hopefully readers agree.
It really captures that dreamlike / powerlessness of sleep paralysis. By setting it in second person narration, you're kind of stuck in an outside in perspective where you're watching a character go through these events, but that character is you. You are paralyzed and the story is happening to you.
Yeah.
Very evocative.
It's so unsettling.
I love second person narrative myself. I think it's really experimental, and when it clicks, it's really cool.
Yeah, I had fun writing it too. Like even the sensations of sleep paralysis, like it can be tough to describe, something a lot of people actually experience.
I never encountered the concept or the legend of the Hat Man until after I read your story. And then I started finding out about like these support groups and chat groups online where people are collaborating on these theories of who the Hat Man is. I was like, uh-oh, what has Chelsea done to me? What dark veil has she pulled me across?
I've now infiltrated your Google algorithm and now you're screwed.
Chris, your story is Between the Barbie and the Deep Blue Ranger.
Yes. So that one was born from this actual, I had the Power Ranger as a kid. I remember it being the same size as me. I used to wrestle it all the time. And Chelsea, you were the one with the life-size Barbie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really wanted to do something with these two figures. And I thought, what better than to have them be the devil and the angel on your shoulder? You have one figure, you have this Barbie who is, of course, naked, as is all the Barbies in the 90s for some reason. She's the devil, of course, because she's Barbie. She represents consumerism and all this stuff. And then you got the Power Ranger, who's the noble, knight. He's the protector. He's the one he's the paragon of virtue. He wants to do what's right. And being young in the 90s, my whole life was about how do I get candy? How do I get sugar? So this story is about this young boy's dilemma and about trying to get his sister's Big League Chew. And then, of course, as in all great horror stories, things escalate beyond what you would realistically see.
This story freaked me out, and maybe it's because I had my own near-death experience with gum. Maybe it's because I did a little babysitting, or I was stuck at home with a mean older sister, but it all read as pretty real to me. Do you have any siblings or any sibling rivalries?
I do have a big brother. I got a little sister, and a lot of my life with them was trying to get the goodies before they got it.
There's a scene where your protagonist is sort of wolfing down mouthfuls of Big League chewing gum, and it reminded me of this crazy experience where, do you guys remember bubble tape?
Yes.
Bubble tape.
It looks like a measuring tape. My buddies were walking around downtown. We did a candy run and we had bubble tape. And so we decided like, hey, Matt, what if you chewed all 6 feet of bubble tape at once?
No.
And
No.
I'll say this for Matt. A, he was game. B, he's an athlete. So we're like, all right, you can do this. And so he's stuffing it in foot after foot after foot after foot after foot of grape bubble tape.
Was it really 6 feet?
Yeah, it was an ungodly amount of gum. But as he's chewing it, it's sort of growing in his mouth. And his jaw muscles were getting fatigued. And like he was frothing at the mouth with this purple bubbling slime. And it was overtaking his mouth and his salivary glands. And it started to go down the other way. Like there was if he was going to keep it in his mouth, it could only expand down his esophagus. So eventually,
Jesus.
and I believe the statute of limitations has passed on this. Eventually, he had to spit it out. And so he gave birth to this thing in his hand. And it looked like Krang from Ninja Turtles. It was just awful. And he threw it at a street sign. And it just splattered against it like an octopus in a hurricane. And for years, we would drive by and see the purple sticky remnants on that sign.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So, Chelsea, you hail from Massachusetts.
I do. Yep.
I'm a New Englander myself.
Oh, okay. Where do you live?
I grew up in Connecticut.
So I grew up in the Springfield area, and now I live closer to Boston.
Nice. I went to school in Boston.
Look at us.
Look at us. So tell me,
thought.
what is the scariest thing about Springfield, Massachusetts?
The scariest thing about Springfield. Oh my God, I'll tell you about the hot dog demon. It's not it's not real, but it is
What a lead up.
serious thing.
Not the Springfield slasher, but the hot dog demon. Okay.
My mom, I think she would get bored of like regular mom stories all the time. So she would constantly try to scare me and my friends. But we were driving through the Bright Nights one time. She was probably bored out of her mind. And we passed a lake and she's like, oh my God, have you heard the story of the hot dog demon? And me and my friends are like, what? Anyway, she's like, yeah, a bus drove through here, filled with people coming to see the lights. And they don't know what happened, but they found that bus at the bottom of the lake. And everybody on the bus was holding a hot dog with one bite gone. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get much scarier than that in Springfield.
It's terrifying.
I mean, if you gotta go, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah. Was that the answer you were expecting?
Yes. I was fishing for a tailed hot dog demon, and now I've been hot dog pilled, and I'm going to start seeing Google News alerts for hot dog demons everywhere.
You heard it here first.
Thanks, Mom.
Shout out to my mom.
Chris, I was recently up in Banff, Canada.
Oh, nice.
And I got to see a display of a fish man from Lake Minnewanka.
Ooh, what was he like? How tall was he?
I've got a photo here. I don't know if you can see it. He was sort of like a Fiji mermaid.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen pictures online of this.
Ooh, look at that thing.
So definitely not like a Jason Momoa mermaid kind of thing.
Well,
that?
Perhaps if someone puts this in some water and gives him a little protein shake, he might develop into a Jason Momoa. But right now, he's a pretty scrawny, fetal-looking fish creature.
Yeah, that is haunting.
This claims to be some kind of First Nations cryptid. Did you have any cryptids or legends where you were growing up in BC?
I mean, we got the Sasquatch, of course. Anything in the Pacific Northwest, we kind of share. That's like all of it is indigenous legends and stuff like that. There's such a deep culture and everything behind that. The Sasquatch is probably the most, like the thing that interests me the most because it's the missing link, right? It's like it connects humanity to the past and everything like that. But I've actually, the concept of the cryptid is actually kind of new to me. I think I learned the definition maybe like a year ago or something. So it's never been something that I've really been in touch with. But ever since then, I've been trying to keep my ear to the ground for stuff like that.
Did you have any local ghosts or haunts?
On Vancouver Island, there's a lot of that stuff. That seclusion, that island lifestyle really, really lends to that a lot.
We were up there in October, and there were plenty of pumpkins around, but I didn't see a lot of Halloween festivity. Did you guys go in for that when you were growing up?
Yeah, totally. The whole thing about being Canadian is we get so much culture from America that it's like, I don't know what's you guys and what's us. I wrote a story where I put a Mr. Big chocolate bar in the story, and it was set in the States. And then people told me, oh, that's a Canadian chocolate bar. I'm like, oh, geez, okay, what's an American chocolate bar? You guys have Arrow? Nope. Do you guys have Coffee Crisp? Nope. So it's like this weird kind of, I'm in a liminal space here where I don't know what's Canadian, what's American. And I think they have a better distinction about that maybe out east. But over here, like I live right on the border. So it's all America all the time.
I think you are wise in going straight to the candy aisle, because when I was there, I was buying candy for Halloween, and I was like, Coffin Crisp, what's this?
Oh, it's the best. Coffee Crisp? Oh.
Well, it was branded Coffin Crisp for Halloween, and I was losing my mind. I was like, this sounds awesome.
Did you have it?
I didn't.
Oh, you're missing out, man. Yeah, we do all the Halloween stuff. We got the pumpkin shaped Reese cups that look nothing like a pumpkin.
They're called Reese's cups.
Reese's cups? No.
Yes.
Are they?
You don't call it a Reese cup. Oh,
a Reese cup.
No one calls it that.
Do you ever get a Reese piece?
Just one.
I think we call them Reese's Pieces. Is this another thing that I'm passing the mustard on? I get these things wrong all the time. I don't even know how to pronounce my last name. I say O'Halloran. Everyone else says O'Halloran. So I'm really, don't take anything I say for gospel.
With your name, you're allowed to.
However you pronounce your name is how it should be pronounced. Chelsea, I know you guys did it up for Halloween. New England represents.
We do. Yeah, I still have my 12-foot skeleton up right now, and it is December 4th.
Are you going to put it in a Santa hat and wrap it in lights?
Yes. Yeah, I ordered a Santa hat on Etsy, and my husband keeps being like, all right, after that, we're taking it down. after that, we can't be those neighbors. And I was like, I think we can be those neighbors. Let's just keep dressing them up.
Skeletal Baby New Year. Hello.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, a giant diaper on him would be hilarious. I love Halloween. I like start celebrating Halloween like September 1st because I feel like you should get more than 1 month
That's
of it.
when it starts, right?
Yeah. And like we like watch scary movies we watch scary movies all year round, but like I basically am like, this is all we're watching for that season. We don't get trick-or-treaters, which bums me out, but we live on a really busy street.
Trick-or-treating has become like a destination experience now. Like everyone trucks out to like the big complexes, and like where we are, we don't get any.
Yeah, it was kind of like that when I was a kid too. Like we were just talking about living in Springfield, and not every neighborhood in Springfield is like awesome to walk around. It's not like the most walkable area. So we would always drive to like my grandmother's neighborhood, and they had great candy and like way more trick-or-treaters. So
can I just update on the Reese controversy?
Yeah, sure.
I did quickly look this up. While it's Reese's in the States, it is Reese in Canada because the possessive name is recognized only in English. So when they took out the S, they made Reese bilingual for the French part of Canada.
Wow. I take back all of my razzing of you then.
I don't. I'm going to cut all that and you're going to sound like an idiot.
Business as usual.
Gotcha, Canada. You know, I have noticed similarly and lamented this destination trick-or-treating trend. And it makes sense. If you live in a farm town and you got to walk 2 miles to the next house, that isn't even trick-or-treating. Obviously, you have to go where there's houses close together. But in SoCal anyway, there are neighborhoods that are very affluent. And so not only do they give out lots of candy, but they also go all out for decorations and things like that. And what you get is people driving from miles and miles around to go to those destination neighborhoods. And what I think trick-or-treating is for, in part, is going around your own neighborhood. Mm-hmm. You know, ideally, between certain ages, kids can set off on their own and sort of have a self-guided tour of a place they know well, you know, the streets they hopefully are walking themselves during the day, and do it at night and get a little braver and get to meet their neighbors. And it's sort of a community bonding activity. When you just pile into a car and commute for an hour someplace to fill up on candy, it just feels kind of mercenary and capitalistic.
Yeah, that's when you see the videos of people dumping bowls into their bags.
Exactly.
All this ring camera footage of ne'er-do-wells.
Which ideally you wouldn't be doing to your neighbors, unless it was mischief night the night before, in which case, hey.
All bets are off, yeah.
Mischief night.
Yeah, the night before Halloween.
Do you guys have mischief night?
I guess we missed that one up here.
I recently did a little historical presentation on the podcast about the history of Halloween and Mischief Night. Halloween, when it came over from the Scotch-Irish regions, was really about going nuts and causing havoc and playing pranks and brawling and destroying the town. It was called Gate Night for a while because a common prank was to steal the gates from farmers' fences. It was also called Cabbage Night because people would set cabbage on fire and like throw it into people's houses as stink bombs, like organic stink bombs. During the Great Depression in America, you had all these unemployed youths roaming around really causing havoc, like lethal havoc for Halloween. So what they did was the city fathers got together and they said, okay, we're setting aside a night for Halloween. We're going to have parades. We're going to have costumes. We're going to entice them in with candy, and we're going to civilize this holiday. But as a nod to the chaos, some places allowed a little window for mischief the night before Halloween. And so that is prank night, mischief night, devil's night, gate night, cabbage night, whatever you call it in your own locality.
So basically the purge.
That's what I was thinking.
Reese purge.
That's interesting, though. I think what bothers me about trick-or-treaters these days, kids these days, is when they postpone Halloween if the weather's bad. And I'm like, no, it's tradition. You have to friggin' figure out how to wear your costume in bad weather. That's how... Mm-hmm. That's a rite of passage.
Yep. You got to put that puffy jacket over top of your ninja outfit. And
oh, yeah. I was all about like, I had like the turtleneck on under like my cute little princess outfit. I was like, this sucks. But
We
it's
should have
hard.
Halloween in the summer.
There are spooky holidays year round if you look for them.
We got to mainstream them.
Well, Krampus is like becoming mainstream with horror fans, at least.
I think Krampus is played out at this point. I think he's so mainstream.
Hot
Yeah.
take.
Waiting in the wings. There are so many other awesome Yuletide monsters and specters.
This is the season of ghost stories, right? Where people gather around and share that stuff.
Exactly. Bring it back to the old Victorian tradition of ghost stories at Christmas time. And then in addition to Krampus, you've got Père Foutard, you've got Belsnickel, you've got Belfana, the Italian Christmas witch. You've got the Yule Lads, 13 evil prankster gnomes from Iceland. You've got Grilla, the giantess. You've got the Yule Cat, which is a giant cat that eats children if they don't get new clothing on Christmas Day.
It doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, who does that punish?
You've got Calicanzaros, which are these evil goat demons from Greece. They live underground all year long, and then on Christmas, they're allowed to come out and cause havoc. So they jump on people's backs and demand piggyback rides. Trust me, there are so many other Yuletide monsters.
I'm sensing like a future anthology idea.
Is this a pitch?
kidding.
Is this a green light I'm hearing? Owl Society?
Yeah.
Get at me. All right.
Get on it.
So, since you are both Halloween verified, I'm going to ask you a few classic Halloween questions. Chelsea, best and worst costume?
My favorite costume is I went as roadkill one year as a kid. So I just had this is the whole thing with weather, right? I got a sweatsuit and then I ran over it with tires, so it looked like I got squished. And then I put like leaves in my hair and shit. That was a good one.
That is awesome.
That's great.
And I think worse is probably just like whatever I wore in college, because I feel like you just put on something skimpy and go to a party. So I don't know.
Speak for
Slutty
yourself.
pirate or something.
Well, all pirates are slutty.
That's true.
Is a
That's
distinction
true, you know?
without
Staying
merit.
True to form.
How about you, Chris?
The best, probably the earliest one I can remember is when I was Robin to my brother's Batman. I remember Poison Ivy vividly. This was the George Clooney Batman, right? His Robin got taken in by Poison Ivy. So I liked having that, me and my brother being superheroes, you know.
But you also want to leave the door open that sexy Poison Ivy might abduct you?
Yes.
Smart.
My worst, oh my God. My worst one's probably just the laziest one. I was probably like 17 or 18, too old to be trick-or-treating. And me and my buddy, we just got some Rock Band guitars from the video game Rock Band. And we just, I don't know, we like put on some sunglasses and we were rock stars. So we were going around way too old to trick-or-treat and asking adults for candy with these video game controllers strapped around our neck.
Definitely a vibe.
For sure.
So at what age did you stop trick-or-treating, Chelsea?
Oh, I actually kind of wrote a short story about this, not for this anthology, but I think my last like I feel like official night was like 8th grade. Like that was the last hurrah. But I think I did go again once in high school. Like a group of us went as Scooby-Doo, which, you know, now it's basic, but whatever. But at that point, I think we felt and were treated like we were too old to be there. Like I think we just wanted to wear costumes. And when you're young, there's no costume parties to go to. So we were like, I guess we have to go trick-or-treating.
A little before cosplay was a more mainstream accepted activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
You had to wait all year long just to cosplay one night.
How sad.
Indeed.
The 90s were sad.
Best and worst candy.
Oh, man. See, we were the destination to go to growing up. Our neighborhood. I lived in a townhouse complex with 305 townhouses. So you can imagine you could hit up a lot of real estate there. But we weren't like a rich neighborhood because we were all townhouses. So we would get pennies. We would get peanuts in the shell. I mean, peanuts in the shell, that's got to be the worst candy.
I feel like pennies taste worse.
You save up those pennies, man, and that turns into candy.
It's a great point.
But the best, oh, man. I'm weird. I do like candy corn.
Nothing weird about that. No shame.
You don't really get candy corn in a presentable package for Halloween. You get loose candy corn, and then you're taking your life into your own hands when you eat those.
Hey, it's seasoned by whatever's floating around in the bottom of your bag. Even better.
Yeah. Best candy though has got to be. I gotta keep harping on this. The coffee crisp, man. You get the coffee crisp in the fun size, and there's something about the ratio that it's the best.
Ratio is so important when it comes to candy, and I think people lose that when they go like king size, 1 pound size, and it's like, no, there's a ratio, especially with chocolate wrapped things where it's, got crisp edges or a little bit of snap to it or a mushy middle. You want to avoid that.
You need balance. This is an art form. People work hard on this.
Chelsea, best and worst candy?
And we're talking Halloween, right? So I'm like, okay, what would I get in my bag? The hell are those things called? They're like really chewy, like honey something.
Bitto honeys?
Bitto honey. Trash.
What is that?
Don't worry about it.
It's a dentist visit in a bag.
They're gross.
It sounds delicious.
Those are gross. Pixie sticks are like a waste of my time. Like
a waste of your time? How else can you turn your blood into pure sugar slush than literally mainlining a cubic foot of sugar all at once? It's like the most efficient candy ever made.
May I introduce you to the Slurpee at 7-Eleven?
Not a Halloween candy. I don't care what promotion they're offering. Slurpee, not a Halloween candy.
I love a Kit Kat.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, I know that they're really simple, but I like them.
Kit Kat is really just a coffee crisp without the coffee.
Can you bring me some coffee crisps to Stoker?
I'm going to pack a bag full of them.
Yes.
You may have to declare them at customs.
Maybe hide them on your person.
I'll smuggle for sure.
While I was buying candy, specifically for this podcast, for our Halloween special, I ended up getting some barbecue maggots and some onion and chives flavored crickets.
Are the maggots real maggots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Specifically for one of my friends who will literally eat anything. And when I was going back through customs into the States, they said, do you have any insects or animals or meat? And I was like, all of the above, but kind of none of the above. So again, statute of limitations has expired. So I think I may have smuggled those into the country.
I gotta ask, is the guy that you fed this to the same guy you fed the gum?
No.
This is just a thing you do.
It collects friends with weird eating habits.
Yeah. If you want to be friends with me, you have to eat something weird. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them.
That's right. Jeff's Gambit.
Do you guys carve pumpkins?
Yeah.
Freehand or pattern?
I haven't carved a pumpkin in a long time.
You put up a 12-foot skeleton, but you're not carving pumpkins?
Let's remember, the skeleton is still up, and that is a testament to my laziness. And pumpkin carving is a bit of an ordeal.
To be honest, I wouldn't do it if I didn't have kids. This year is really the big year that Halloween has kind of resurged in my life because my son is 3 and it's now fun. Like he's experiencing all this stuff for the first time and like he can actually do it. So now it revitalizes it for me. It makes me want to carve the pumpkin, get my hands all messy.
That's fun.
It is an activity available to all of us, and I urge you to partake next year because it's a full sensory experience.
Yes.
What did you carve this year, Jeff?
I just carved a sort of frowny face because I found a pumpkin at a grocery store that just had like a scar that looked like a perfect frown, like an emoji style frown. And so I believe, working with the medium and bringing out what's there.
But did you partake in the frown discourse of the internet this past week?
Oh.
Is that a reaction to the horror movie Smile?
No, but that would be a great
Maybe.
The sequel, Frown. It'll turn you upside down.
Oh, no.
No, somebody realized that the British English definition of a frown and the American version are different. So we consider a frown a mouth movement and they consider it an eyebrow movement.
The internet has gone too far. It's dividing us in ways never foreseen. I think we need to go back to the 90s and just kill the internet in its crib.
I'll keep my Reese over here. You keep your Reese's over there.
Fair.
There.
As long as you share your Kit Kats with us.
Yeah, let's get some coffee in those bad boys. So your anthology, that's what I call horror, is available for pre-order now, and it will arrive on January 25th. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Until then, can you tease a little bit what you guys are working on next?
And I'll say we're doing 2 styles of pre-orders, I guess. So there's the classic Amazon ebook, and then if anybody wants a signed copy, that comes with some really fun swag. There are pogs, exclusive themed pogs for the book that will come with the signed copy. So it's all on my website. What am I working on next? Some secret projects. And I recently had one of my stories bought by Shortwave magazine. So that'll be the probably next thing coming out from me. Recently, this year, I was published in Chromophobia, which is a all-women horror writer anthology. I also had a short story published last month in Bloodless, which is an anthology of blood-free horror. That's
Awesome.
where you can find me.
Chris?
So my big thing that I'm working on right now is a secret project that I'm kind of at the helm of. I've got another secret project that I have a story in that's coming out. But as far as releases coming out, I have a story in No Sleep that came out recently. Something in Tales to Terrify podcast. The narration they do for the audio versions are just next level. They're really good.
Agreed. Where can our listeners follow you and find out more information?
You can find me at coauthor.ca. CO, the letters, and follow me on Twitter at Burgle Infernal.
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Chelsea Pumpkins, and my website is chelseapumpkins.com.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeff. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
My pleasure. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at webobpodcast, contact us at webobpod@gmail.com, or subscribe on iTunes. You can find Ryan at 20th Century Art G with the number 20 on YouTube, and you can find me at jeffccarter.com and hit the link to pick up my collection, We Bleed Orange and Black, 31 fun-sized tales for Halloween. Until next time, stay spooktacular. And so he gave birth to this thing in his hand.